I am the only Black woman at my level in the whole company.
So for the whole world?
The world. I feel like I always have to be on my P's and Q's because I'm representing the whole Black race. Any interaction that they have with me, they're going to judge everyone else that looks like me.
There are privileges we all get based on the boxes that we check, no matter who you are. Everybody has a certain level of privilege, but whiteness in this country is it's like the Amex Black card.
Amex Black card.
My grandkids are half Chinese and one quarter Chinese and half Japanese. Okay, so they're more Asian than they are white. Are you telling me that they really need to check the white box or they won't get what they need and get where they want to go?
I can share my experience growing up in South Texas and going to an elementary school that was desegregated when I was in the 4th grade in the late 80s by the Office of Civil Rights, came to them and said, you must desegregate. And so what they did is they turned my elementary school that was predominantly Black and brown into a gifted and talented magnet, and then proceeded to bring white teachers in and segregated us in the school in portable buildings. And I was one of 3 non-white students. And then I went from having Black and brown teachers to having all white teachers. And that's when I knew racism. Because I was sat in the back. And I always sat in the front. 1, because I had trouble seeing, but 2, I was the smartest kid in school. So I don't know why I'm sitting in the back now, because in my mind, I'm still the smartest kid in the school. Even though now I'm competing with these white kids that got computers, but that's okay, because I still will outread you in this library. But that experience really shaped me and what I thought of white women. And then I kept having different experiences like this. So when I got to 6th grade, they detracked me. So there's studies shown that when you have school districts that do tracking, like gifted and talented, regular, basic, special needs. So I went from gifted and talented, and they put me in these basic classes. And I went home and I said, Mom, I'm in the wrong classes because I'm in school. I'm in class with these kids, number 1. Number 2, I already did this stuff in the 4th grade. Like this, what is this? And so she had to go and fight to get me back in gifted and talented schools, but they detracted me because I was a Black kid. Yeah. Right. And so people try to say, oh, you Black people, y'all so sensitive, you're making this shit up. No, we're not. We're not making it up. And I think it's very hard for white women to even comprehend the ways that they are tools in this system.
I have no doubt that has been an experience for you, but I'm also seeing like lots of changes both in society and just in people I know. I mean, my grandchildren, who one's in high school, one's in college, and then I have some younger ones. I mean, they have all kinds of friends, and the kids just seem so much more comfortable with anybody and whatever color, whatever anything. So I see that changes. I see other changes in society, which clearly seem to be a benefit, to people that are of any color, So is it something you don't trust, or do you think that there are changes coming about?
No, we can look from 1619 to today, and we know there is change. One thing that's always going to hold true is we're going to evolve and we're going to change.
Okay.
But does that not mean that we're all having certain experiences right here, right now in the present? just because things are changing doesn't mean it's totally completely done. It
And
is
the
a
velocity of
process.
that change is different for different people.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And it is a
Mm.
process. And it is according to where you live. If you live in a major metropolitan city, you're going to see something different than if you live in Victoria, Texas, where I
Mhm.
was during the presidential election. And I made sure to stay in my house before it got dark because there were Trump flags and Confederate flags with Trump flags
Mhm.
all over my little town. And I was afraid.
Yeah.
Because folks are crazy. And also, quiet as it's kept, has been increased lynchings in the South, but nobody wants to talk about it. A lot of people are saying, oh, Black people are committing suicide more. But Black people, when they commit suicide, they typically don't hang themselves.
Mhm.
And so in my town, in the town surrounding my town, okay, you want to call it suicide? Okay. I'm gonna stay home.
My experience was a little bit different. I remember, like Felicia was saying, when they desegregated the schools. So the school that I was supposed to go to, they ended up busing me. So I had to be at the bus at 6 a.m. in the morning to go to Tarzana, which, you know, you guys that live in California, Tarzana is literally 100% white. So here comes this bus of all of these Black and brown children into Tarzana every morning. That was very different for me. I didn't make friends, and I'm always the social, I didn't make friends. They were so against us, just automatically
Yes.
against us. And my teacher was a white woman. And like Felicia, you couldn't tell me I wasn't the smartest person there. I'd always been in gifted, and at that time we called it GATE. But she, I raised my hand and she'd ignore me.
Mm.
The next year, when they wanted to do that again, my mom went and said, hell no, put her back here. And that's how I ended up going back to Marvin Avenue Elementary School. So that was difficult, for me. When I got to the high school, it was predominantly white, but there were Asian, there were Hispanic, there were East Indian. And so I was curious, and I would like, that smells really good. What is that? Oh, that's a lumpia. What is, how do you make that? It smells good. Can I taste it? And then I became friends with the kids that were Filipino, because I love lumpia to this day and I can make it. But, again, talking to different people. So I felt really comfortable in my own skin, and I had different nationality of teachers, and they all believed in me. You can be anything you want. You're great. You're smart. You're, all of these different things. And so everything is going great. And then I get in 11th grade and I had a crush on this white guy named Brian Driscoll. Hopefully none of y'all know Brian. Had this crush on Brian. And he was my first crush on someone outside of my race. Prior to that, I liked all, the little Black boys. He was my first white boy. And I just, oh my gosh, we had like 3 classes together. And we sat next to each other and we would just talk and talk and talk. And in my mind, because of who I am, it didn't occur to me that he would have any bias. It just didn't. I'm smart, I'm pretty. Why wouldn't you want me? And one day I said to him, and we would walk to class, together, everything. And I've never been one to be under like the constructs of, this is what a woman is supposed to do. This is what a man, I just am not, never have been. And so I told him, I said, I like you. We should date. You should be my boyfriend. his face, I will never forget, from his ears on down just went red.
Mm.
And he said, I think you're a nice person, but I wouldn't date a Black girl.
Woo! I knew it. I knew it.
Man, when I tell you I was mad, my heart hurt. I didn't, I was 16. I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't see it coming. I honestly did not see it coming. And I was hurt. I had another friend, Kimmy's white, but her parents divorced, and her mom married a Black man who had raised her since she was like 3. And Marilyn's family disowned her for marrying a Black man.
Mm.
And I remember telling Marilyn, and she really sat me down and said, don't you let that bother you. You love who you love. I mean, she just really laid it out for me. She's like, my parents don't speak to me because of this wonderful man who is raised. I mean, we were in high school at the time. And she's like, who has raised my children that are of a different race of him, who has treated them just like he did his own. And I mean, she just really laid everything out to me. And she talked about grace without saying the word grace, but she's like, sometimes you just gotta let a fool be a fool, understand they don't realize how foolish they are, and so on and so forth. And I will tell you, last year I got a social media request from Brian Driscoll.
Girl, no, you didn't.
I did.
I'm all invested in this story now.
And my first inkling was to, decline. Just, I don't talk to you now, because we didn't have a friendship after that.
Mhm.
I couldn't understand it.
Sure.
I said, you know what? I'm going to accept it. And I accepted it. And then he inboxed me. Hey, Michelle, it's been a long time. And, how are you? And I'm chomping at the bit to see, he apologized.
Wow.
Mhm.
And he said, I liked you too, but I knew that my family and my friends would have a huge issue if I dated a Black girl. He said, but I liked you too. You were a really cool girl.
Oh.
And I thought, man, I didn't grow up that way. So it was different, but it was meaningful. And every now and again, he'll, hey, how's it going? Or like a picture or comment on something I post. But it took all these years. I graduated high school in 1986. So this was like 1985. In my mind, that's not that long ago. So you ask about change. Yeah, some people have grown up, learned to do different.
Mm.
But then you look at corporate America. I am an HR executive. I work for a global company. I am the only Black woman at my level in the whole company.
So for the whole world?
The world. I am it.
Wow.
So, and I'm gonna say something that is probably, I know that Andre and Felicia are gonna understand. I feel like I always have to be on my P's and Q's because I'm representing the whole Black race. Any interaction that they have with me, they're going to judge everyone else that looks like me by me. That's not fair, but that is something that I think we tend to take on.
Scary.
And so when you see this Black person, in the news because this, this happened, they did this, or I can even tell you something that you guys probably don't realize, but I know for a fact that Felicia and Andre do. When something big happens, like when there's a big mass shooting, first thing we think is, I hope it ain't a Black person.
Please don't let it be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that that's something that, someone, of the white race, that's not what they think. They probably think, God, I hope everyone's okay. I'm going to pray for the family, that type of thing. But the first thing we think is, I hope they don't look like me.
I can relate to that in a different sort of way, because when Epstein and Weinstein, you know, did what they did, I was like, oh my God, they're going to think all Jewish people are like, they are going to
Mhm.
think all Jewish people are like that. So it's on a different level, but yeah, I mean, you know, people tend to generalize and people tend to, you know, see a whole group because of the actions of one, and it's wrong and it's sad. And
Randy,
Yeah.
who is the they for you? Who, when that
the
happens?
they for me, actually, interestingly, there are two theys. The they are non-Jewish people who are, you know, been in this country forever, you know, and see us as somebody who came a couple of generations ago. And in some cases, the they can be Black people. Because I've
Really?
also, yes, I've been recently with some Black people who have been really anti-Semitic, and it's just gotten it was like in a very personal way, and I've had that experience as well.
That's interesting because I
Mhm.
had made an assumption. That's why I asked the question.
Good.
'Cause
What was
I
the
just-
assumption?
The assumption is that your they was just white people, and it's just like our they is white people. But at least for
Mhm.
me, I'm like, oh Lord, because what they gonna think, and the they for me has always just been this collective of whiteness that will judge us and say, see, and make a new stereotype about us.
Mhm.
Or uplift another stereotype, because they do that so much in the news. Like, you know, you see the headlines compared when there's
Mhm.
a Black person that commits a crime. It's like this dehumanizing, villainizing headline. When a white person, it's like they talk about their good
Mental
family,
illness.
mental illness, and there's all these like this humanity and what and the
Nuance.
grace that they're
Nuance.
automatically getting, this benefit of the doubt that we just don't see for us in the media. And so, you know, I was just wondering if is that happen for, and I don't know much about Jewish culture. I don't have any if they are Jewish, I don't know they're Jewish, because I've just always been taught that Jewish people were white. There's Jewish white people, like we're still white. Like that's how I saw it. And for Jewish people to tell me like, I don't see myself as white, and I'll just be like, that's interesting.
You have something to say, Todd?
Yeah, no, listen, I think there's a
We've got
similarity.
minutes behind that.
No,
Go ahead.
I was, you know, I was feeling or thinking the same thing as Randy. I mean, there are tropes, obviously, about Jews. You know, us, Andre and I doing this work, the closest, so let me say the difference. The difference as I see it. The difference is I don't walk around worrying that every person that I come in contact with perception that I need to in some way, you know, counteract that bias, right?
Mhm.
So the way that Michelle describes it as being always on guard, always having to have your P's and Q's,
Yeah.
right? Or however you put it, that constant vigilance is not there at all. And if anything, as a Jew, and I've shared this with Andre in our conversation, I probably felt it less than the average person in the Jewish community, any kind of worry or concern, even though I know the statistics about anti-Semitism. But the first time I've ever felt it actually is in this project with Andre, because when you hear the tropes about Jewish people, it's pulling the strings through media, right? With their power and finances and whatever. And I'll tell you, when we put our first videos out, it was only one thing, and you can't, you know, get concerned about social media comments. But our first social media comment was, "What's the name of this white guy?"
Oh,
It had nothing to do with Andre, right? It was, who's this white guy taking part in this, right? Let me get his name so I could track him down, right? And so I can, this is the smallest little way that I can understand the feeling of worried about playing into a stereotype, right? Is this project that we're doing, but it's not something that even though I can acknowledge even what Randy said about Weinstein and Epstein, that there was like, oh, another Jewish person who preyed on you know, people sexually, right? There's that little thing in my head that's like, okay, is this going to be a pattern that people are then going to generalize about? It's not something I feel on a day-to-day basis in the way that I've heard expressed from people in the Black community when it relates to biases that just exist around there, and you never know when you're you don't know who you're in front of, right? You don't know
Right.
the constructs
Yeah.
they have in their mind, right?
Mhm.
But you know that on average, there are people who have more, there are people who have less, but there's a good deal of it out there. And so you have to kind of be on guard and have your best ready, right? Not to play into stereotypes. So I've never felt any kind of pressure like that as a Jew.
Because there are real economic consequences.
Oh, sure.
So I'll give you an example. My best friend, Krista, she's an attorney. She was in Dallas and she was clerking before going to law school. I guess it's clerking or interning. I don't know what the right term is, but she was working at a law firm before going to law school, whatever that position is. And again, living in excellence. She graduated third in her high school class from a small town in East Texas. She has always just been academically excellent, and she's one of the smartest people I know. And so she went into that after graduating from the University of Texas at Austin. She went into that role and she was the only one. And they literally went to her and said, "Oh my God, you've been amazing. We need more like you. Can you help us find more like you?" And they meant Black people because they just didn't know. Now, had she gone there and, maybe just been a regular, normal candidate that did normal, regular work, good, solid B+, not A+, excellent work, they wouldn't have hired, she would have left and went to law school. They probably would have been years before they hired another Black person. It is actually because of her that she gave economic advantage at that law firm to other Black people. And then she had to interview them and all the stuff. Like they put her in this position to lead their diversity efforts, even though she was not an HR person or anything like that. And so that weighed on her. Like she had to carry, we all have to carry this thing with us because it has real economic impact. Harvey Weinstein and Epstein, and I didn't even realize they were Jewish until just now. I've only thought of them as rich white men with weird rich white men
Lot of
power.
I'm highly involved in a group called South Coast Interfaith Council. And I got involved in that because there was a women's prayer group that was organized to help support, frankly, the Muslim women during the Muslim ban time. And that grew into some strong friendships and relationships and activity. So we do a lot together and we do practice the grace and openness as much as we can. But I recognize too that there's a danger of, and I'm saying this because of the feminism and the sisterhood part of the picture. There's a danger of white women having good intentions, but being ignorant of some of the complexities and some of the experiences that other people have. And we come across as being hypocritical or disingenuous because we express that we understand and we're right there with you and we get it and we want to all be together and we all want to love each other and it's so simple. And it isn't. And so how do you walk that line between wanting to go where you need to go with your sisters, your cohorts, your people, and just making mistakes because you don't get it. You think you get it. You want to get it, but you can't get it because you haven't walked in those shoes. How do you do that? Right?
Can we be honest though? Like if I was a white woman, I'd choose whiteness first. Like just on basic survival in this country. Like I'll never forget, I had a listener email me and she was talking about her issue at work. And I said, "Oh, you need an attorney, what you're going through." Now, understand the EEOC has several protected classes. One is gender, one is age, one is race, right? And so I was like, "Yeah, here's my EEOC attorney." And she was like, "Oh, I'm white. Can she help me?" And I'm like, "You're a woman."
Mhm.
Yes. It's just like, oh. So like I and that's just a small example, but my experience has been that white women will choose whiteness. And quite frankly, I don't blame them. because whiteness will protect you in this country.
What does that mean? And at first I didn't know what that mean until I saw that Dave Chappelle comic special. Then I understood where people are getting. So when you said choose whiteness, Felicia, what are examples of that? What does that mean?
That I'm going to choose the identity that gives me the most privilege in the context of how I live. And if I'm white, regardless of if I'm woman or if I'm gay or if I check any other type of box, if I'm white, that's going to trump in this society that we live in now. That's going to trump everything as far as privilege. So any privileges I'm trying to get in society as I move through my everyday, there are privileges we all get based on the boxes that we check, no matter who you are. Everybody has a certain level of privilege. If you went to a certain college, you have a certain privilege there. Like y'all went to Stanford. I've seen y'all privilege in action. I love it. Right. So like everybody has, you're in some club because you check some box. But whiteness in this country is it's like the Amex black card.
Amex black card.
I have to ask this question. My grandkids are half Chinese. My grandkids are half Chinese and one quarter Chinese and half Japanese. Okay, so they're more Asian than they are white. Are you telling me that they really need to check the white box or they won't get what they need and get where they want to go?
Well,
or
if I were them,
black and white.
No, if I were them, I would check the box that's going to help me at the moment. That's the best thing about being mixed race, right? Like you get to pick and choose and people will judge you for it, but they're not paying your bills. Why should you care? Do what works best for you. That like it's survival. That's the human reaction. That's what we're going to do as humans. We're going to try to get as much as we can in this human experience of working to survive in the context of where we've landed, where we are.
Thank you for watching this episode of Healing Race, and stay with us for a scene from our next video.
If you want to see more conversations like the one you just watched, please subscribe to our channel, share this video with friends and family, and like and comment on the video below.
If you'd like to be a guest on one of our episodes and have an open, real conversation about race, email us at guests@healingraceshow.com.
And if there are topics you think we should cover, we'd love to hear them. So please email your ideas to topics@healingraceshow.com.
As always, thanks for your support. We look forward to continuing the conversation with you. Now, here's a scene from our next Healing Race.
I didn't appreciate what you said. She's like, what are you talking about? And I said, I didn't appreciate what you said about that man. You know, because a towel head? Like, do you know how racist that is? And she just kind of looked and, like she was shocked. And I said, what do you say about me when I'm not around? You call me out my name? Like, do you not see yourself? Because I see you. And I said, you got some work to do, especially because you're in HR.
Did you tell her that, Michelle?
Absolutely. Good. One thing that I don't do, and I'm not good at this at all, is hold my thoughts back. I try to formulate them in the way that people can understand and that they'll listen, because if I come off angry, they're going to not hear me. But I'm blunt.
To watch the rest of that episode, go ahead and click the video below me.
To see a different compelling Healing Race episode, you can click the video below me. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.